do. You're talking to Keith about the Hindenburg.
Well, Keith is an aviation expert. Everything from kites to Elon Musk flying to Mars.
Yes, he is
So he knows everything.
And he said that the reporter said, the humanity.
Herb
Morrison. After that, there was 20 seconds when he didn't report because he ran behind a shed and vomited.
Amazing that he was able to complete the process of reverse peristalsis in only 20 seconds.
Gus.
Kudos, as Michael Jordan would say to him.
Thanks so much for making us part of your morning today. Amy Jacobson here, and that voice belongs to Bruce Wolf, who's filling in for Dan Proft, because Dan, since he won the big scramble tournament yesterday at our company outing, which benefited the 100 Club of Chicago, he decided, you know what, I'm going to take the day off.
Well, Johnny Carson used to do the same thing, take off Fridays.
Take off Fridays, yeah. So
in the latter stages of his career, that's what he would do.
Yes, but we had a big baseball game last night, and it began with this.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's play ball.
A big message from our President Trump, who was on the Jumbotron, because it was a safety issue, they said, for him to be there at the game. But he addressed the injuries so that the congressman is enduring.
I want to take a moment to send our thoughts, love, and prayers to Congressman Steve Scalise and his entire family. Steve is our friend, he's a patriot, and he's a true fighter. I know you all will be playing extra hard tonight for Steve. We pray for all of the victims of this terrible crime who are still recovering, including Zachary Barth and Matt Micah, both of whom are respected and cherished by so many. We also praise Special Agents Crystal Griner and David Bailey of the Capitol Police for their heroic deeds that saved so many lives. What a great job they did. And we thank all of the members of the Alexandria Fire, Police, and Rescue.
And he went on and on for, a prepared statement, obviously, that he read to thank people. But last night, we should mention that Congressman Steve Scalise underwent a second surgery to deal with internal injuries and a broken bone in his leg. And doctors say that he'll require additional operations, and he's going to be in the hospital for some time. Now, the Democrats beat the Republicans 11-2, and they're taking that trophy to Scalia's office. So they were going to take it to this hospital room, but they're going to leave it in his office as a way of saying, thank you, that we remember you, we love you, we played this game in honor of you. Before the game began, Bruce, I'm sure you saw it, players from both teams met on second base, got on a knee, and they prayed.
It was actually like 2 minutes of praying, which, those guys, some of those congressmen are old. It's hard for me to squat.
Take a knee?
Take a knee seriously. But it was very nice. It was sweet. They were all together like that. And then the Capitol police officer,
David Bailey.
Yeah, he had crutches. He came out to the pitcher's mound and actually threw out the first pitch. He just was injured.
That's good. Yeah. We're fortified. Both sides coming together. I think it's a good idea. I don't know how long it's going to last, but let's begin there with Congressman Sean Duffy from the 7th Congressional District from the great state of Wisconsin. Good morning, Congressman. How are you?
I'm doing well, Amy. Good morning to you, and good morning to you too, Bruce. If Dan was there, we wouldn't have this great opportunity to chat, so happy Dan took the day off.
Yes. Well, Dan seems upset, and so does others, about, both sides coming together, toning down the rhetoric, having this kumbaya moment. How does that affect you when you see what's going on and you're actually a part of it?
Well, so first of all, talking about last night, I thought what was pretty cool is our house chaplain, a Catholic, Father Conroy, was there in the middle of all the members of Congress at second base. And as you noticed, members of Congress will wear the jersey of usually their home team, whether it is pro or college baseball. But Father Conroy had his baseball uniform on, and it said Jesuit. Very, very cute. But listen. I hope this lasts some time, but I do have some concerns. So I'm rewriting the flood insurance bill, and I was supposed to actually meet Steve Scalise the morning of this shooting. Oh. He's from Louisiana, and he obviously they have a lot of flooding, and it's an issue that he cares a lot about, and I'm the one that's leading this reauthorization. And the ranking member of our committee is Maxine Waters. And I got to tell you, I get along very well with Maxine. I would consider her a friend. I disagree with her vigorously politically, but on a personal level, she's a very nice lady. And I thought as this hearing took place the day after the shooting, the temperature would drop, and there might be moments where we could find, some common sense bipartisanship, and there were opportunities for those moments. But in our markup that went from 9 o'clock in the morning until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the rhetoric, the lack of cooperation, I would argue, still exists even after this horrific event. And I'm of the opinion that if we're going to improve on this, it's not going to be Republicans telling Democrats to settle down and to change the way they're communicating. It's got to be Democrats and liberal media elite talking to the liberal base, saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's fight vigorously on politics and on policy, but we can't go after people personally. They're doing the best they can. They're representing their constituents. Might be different than where you're at personally, but their constituents elected them to go fight for them."
Well, this is a losing proposition, I think, because it's not just the rhetoric from the left, it's the actions, and the actions that are condoned. Middlebury, where Charles Murray was supposed to speak, instead he's attacked. Berkeley. And what did the Democrats like Nancy Pelosi do? They condone it. This is action. And they believe that Donald Trump is evil incarnate, and so are justified in doing this. And you even went so far as the New York Times, which lives in its own little bubble, editorializing the other day and saying that
Sarah Palin was responsible for the 6 dead in Tucson.
Because, and which, of course, had been disproven only days later by the New York Times itself when they found out that this guy who shot Gabby Giffords was a paranoid schizophrenic. So this is the kind of opposition that we have. It's one thing to want to engage in civility with somebody, but if the other side doesn't really want to do it and is condoning violence, there isn't all that much you can do.
And that was my point. I know that if Republicans had this kind of event, and Gabby Giffords is different because, as you pointed out, the shooter was not politically motivated, wasn't part of a political campaign for president. He was crazy.
He never even was registered to vote.
Right. Steve Scalise was attacked by a Bernie Sanders supporter, a liberal volunteer, made his opinions about how he hates Republicans well known on social media. If the role was reversed on your radio show as leaders of the conservative movement in Chicago, Bruce and Amy and Dan would be condemning anybody who supported violence. Sean Hannity on Fox News, Brian Kilmeade, Meghan McCain, across the spectrum, leaders in media, local, national, members of Congress would condemn and step away from any kind of violent behavior like that. Democrats, liberals, are refusing to do the same thing. Where, as you said, the New York Times had an opportunity to lead the liberal movement and say, this is not who we are. Violence is not who we are. Instead of taking that opportunity, they took a swipe at Sarah Palin.
Yeah,
what the hell is that?
It's low-hanging fruit, and it's just it's promoting, their objective and their ideology.
When you have an abortion clinic attacked by some nutcase, you don't hear the right as much as, like Dan Proft, for example, believes in the right to life, and I do too. You don't see the right saying, oh, well, he was justified. You don't see that at all.
So in this case, his wife, we found out yesterday, her name's Sue. She said that she, obviously she had no idea what was happening. They were separated in March. She thought he was going to Washington to lobby for changing tax law. The irony to me seems to get lost in the fact that it was President Trump's birthday when he ambushed the congressmen and senators on that baseball diamond. Did anybody else make a connection between the two? Besides me and my crazy mind?
No, I don't think that was the intent of the shooter. I don't know that he made that connection that I'm going to make this horrific event on the day of the president's birthday. I think he was looking for the prime opportunity to take vengeance on Republicans, or I haven't heard that connection made. And I know you guys have probably said it numerous times, and we've heard it on the media, but I want to say one more. The members of Congress don't travel with any kind of security. There's only 5 people in the House and their leadership on the Republican and Democrat side that get any kind of security detail. We will oftentimes congregate as Republicans. You might have 5, 10, 20 of us together, and there is never any security that's with us. Many times at that baseball practice, Steve Scalise wasn't there, or he left early, or he came late, and so you had that same number of members of Congress at a baseball practice without Steve Scalise, which means they would have been there without any security.
Are you afraid? Are you personally afraid right now?
Are you concerned for your safety?
No, I'm not. Listen, I whenever I do public events, I call my local law enforcement if they feel it appropriate to show up. They do. But I will tell you this. First of all, as we all have said, it would have been disastrous, and especially had this shooter been a better shot. But we don't do enough to think through gathering spaces of members of Congress that are soft targets, whether it's for a crazy liberal like this shooter, or if it's ISIS or some other radically inspired individual. There are a lot of soft targets in Washington. But I look at members of Congress's offices and their homes. They are soft targets that we've known for a long time, that we need our leadership in the House to come together and say, we're going to change the rules around how members of Congress protect themselves. They don't need security details, but they should have security equipment at their offices and at their houses. So if someone comes calling, they just can't barge in and do. Oh, I don't even want to say it. I don't want to give anyone any ideas. I'll leave
but still. Is your wife concerned for your safety, especially after this attack or ambush style attack?
My wife is a Fox News contributor. She wrote an article for FoxNews.com expressing outrage and concern because I think this is, any wife, any spouse, and that's maybe more the wives, dread getting a phone call like Jennifer Scalise got on a couple mornings ago. Yeah, they see the threatening letters that I get and the emails. They see what happens at town halls, and they get concerned for our safety. And after this happened, they obviously we all love each other. They're honored as part of a family that gets to serve in Congress and fight for ideals and beliefs. And there's big issues, as you guys talk about every morning, that we're fighting through. But they are deathly concerned that radicals will move from language to actual violent acts and do us harm, like happened a couple mornings ago.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're safe, and thank you so much for all that you do, and thanks again for coming on the show. And you have been on here when Dan Proft has been on the program. So
was he trying?
Because Dan Proft is the program.
Was the congressman trying to say that Dan Proft filibusters?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was saying you were so delightful this morning, Bruce. It was great talking to you too, and Amy, you as well. And thank you guys for being leaders of the movement and being so common sense around ideas and making sure that when Republicans get hot and hostile and out of control, that you're there to put them back in their place and make sure this is about policy and not about violence. And thank you for that.
Thank you. And early happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much. I have 8 kids. I can't wait. It's always fun in my house.
8 kids. Can you imagine?
Oh, my, you're like Dick Van Patten. eight kids.
Thank you so. Yes, Congressman Sean Duffy, 7th Congressional District
Mazel
in Wisconsin,
tov.
father of 17,000 children.
It's news, opinion.